Welcome to Crushing with Abby O. I'm your host and body optimization coach, Abby O'Sullivan. I am passionate about helping you navigate your health and self-love journey, and I'll be sharing all of the secrets on utilizing nutrition, movement, stress management, mindset, and more in order to help you fit self-care into any moment of your day. We are going to bust through the health and fitness industry bullshit. We're going to have a laugh, and we might even cry sometimes. But then we're going to crush our day. Thank you for tuning in. I'm so excited to have you here. Let's go. Welcome back to another episode. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm so excited about today's episode. I have a very special guest. Her name is Melissa Grace, and she's an author. She has written so far a series of books. There's actually 3 out of the 5 are out. They are called Home is Where You Are, Home Again, and Long Way Home. It is the Midnight in Dallas series. It centers or revolves around a male rock band and the women that they fall in love with. And I really, truly love this series because I love a series where you get to know each member of a friend group, and each member, each couple has their own stories. So you really get to know all of them in a deeper way, right? But they're funny. And they make me cry, and they make me emotional, and they also make me feel like I could be a fly on the wall, like I'm part of the story. Just the way that she writes, I feel like I'm having girls' night with the gal pals, and in the mix as well. And they're also set in Nashville, which I love, and I used to live there, and that's actually where I met Melissa as well. I used to do lashes there, and she actually used to be a nail artist, and we met when she was one of my clients. So it's really been amazing to watch her become an author and write these books and get to experience what's going on in her mind and these stories that she's created. I love them so much. They make amazing gifts for yourself or for your friends. So be sure to go connect with her and to go pick up her books, send them to your friends as gifts for Christmas, and have a good laugh together, good cry together. We talk about what it's like to write spicy, sexy scenes. That's what we actually get right into in the episode, because I was reading and realized that in the first book, there weren't spicy scenes, but then in the second and the third, there are. And so we talk about that a little bit of behind the scenes knowledge there, insight. And we talk about what it's like to transition in your career and in your life into something totally different and follow a dream that you thought maybe you never would actually come to fruition. And we also talk about what it's like to be an independent author. So I think it's really cool. It's a really interesting look at something that I don't have any experience with being a book author or anything. And I loved hearing about her experience. And I think it's important to know that there are just, there's always challenges, and there's going to be moments where you feel like, is it ever really going to work? But I love to see people following what they're passionate about and their dreams, and just am happy to support and witness Melissa on her journey. So be sure to connect with her again on Instagram, and let me read her bio to you. Melissa Grace is the storyteller behind the Midnight in Dallas series, a set of feel-good, heartwarming, interconnected, standalone rom-coms about a fictitious band and the amazing women who love them. She resides just outside of Nashville, Tennessee, with her husband and 6 fur children, including her dog Bradley Cooper and her hostile kitty, Mama. Long Way Home is her third novel. Again, the book names are Home Again. Home is Where You Are is the first one. Home Again is the second one, and Long Way Home is the third. And you'll see if you listen to that bio and then read, you'll know that she weaves a lot of real life into her books, and that's also one of my favorite things. So here's an episode of me gushing about these books with Melissa. I hope you enjoy it. Hi, Melissa.
Hi.
Hi, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on. I'm so excited.
I am too. It's been forever since I've gotten to see you, so this is
I
fun.
know. Okay, so for the listeners, we're gonna dive into some of the background and how we met and all of that, but we were just having a conversation. Melissa is an author of these really lovely and funny romance. Do you call them how do you describe them? Romantic comedy novels?
Yes, I would consider them romantic comedies. Yeah.
And we were just talking about how they are a series, and which we'll get into all of this, but I just want to let you in on the conversation that we were just having was that in the second one, the scenes between the couple get spicy. And I
Yes.
was like, oh, because in the first novel, in the edition that I have, we know that like things are happening, but there's not the descriptions and the
Yes.
spiciness level. And so I was
Yes.
asking Melissa about that, and go ahead and tell them like what you said, that you had just added this and all of that.
So I actually went back and added spicy scenes to the first book. After I guess like ultimately the reason why I did not originally publish it with spicy scenes was because I was just fucking terrified. I was so scared, like I can't do this. And then all the feedback was pretty positive about the book, but people were like, "Oh, but I wish that there had been this steam." And I'm like, "No."
Okay, that's what I was
So,
wondering. Yeah.
and I knew that with book 2 that was a huge part of the story. Like that was a big deal. And that was going to happen. So I was like, okay, got to go back and do the first one again and, make it so that they're all consistent. So,
Yeah. Oh, I mean, the relationship, the scenes between Ella and Cash are, oh, I feel like, okay, I'm gonna try really, really, really hard not to spoiler alert anything. So in the second book, maybe I'll just edit that out. Maybe I'll leave it. I don't know. Maybe you can find out. I mean, it does jump in pretty quickly, which is fun.
it does.
But in the second book, like their chemistry, I think that's such a like poignant part of them coming together finally too. It was like that
Yes.
long wait. And then
Yes.
it just like erupts one night, which is so fun.
Yes.
So now I can't wait to go back and read the love scenes of the couple from the first book. Gonna try not to give the names. Can't guarantee you guys, but you're just gonna have
I
to go
can't
read.
promise either.
You're just gonna go have to read for yourself.
That's right.
So that's so fun. And then I was also asking, because if anyone is a regular listener and they've listened to the episode about the scam text, and I was talking about the Tender swindler in the same episode, and I was involved in this like robot or someone, I don't think it was a robot, who
Yeah.
messaged me one night like it's a supposed scam. Like they message you this very like it's like a template essentially of like scam text, but then it turned into a real conversation. Like what was texting me was not a robot, and
Oh.
it got weird and steamy, of course, for me on a random Wednesday night, like super quick. Like this guy was talking about hot wives and being a like a like somebody that the husband and the wife approached for like as a third,
Yeah.
like a cuckold. I was like, what's the
Uh-huh.
word?
Oh
So
my
look
gosh.
at 11:15 a.m. on a Monday. Here we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm sorry, what? Like what? Just tell me more about this lifestyle you used to lead before you moved to Nowhere Town, Missouri from California. This was not real,
Oh
obviously. And
my
I was just like,
gosh.
yeah, let's just see how far we can take this. And then he was just telling me more, and he was like, man, I just thinking about it gets me all like sweaty, hot fire emoji stuff. He would send all these emojis and like devil face. And I was like, he was telling me that whoever was telling me that they were a freelance writer. And I was like, you know what you should do is write a blog about your escapades. And he
Absolutely.
was like, what? No. And I was like, have you heard of
Yeah.
50 Shades? Like, I've read stuff like that. You should 100% do this. And they were like, oh my gosh. I mean, just thinking about my stories. And I was really attached to this as a business idea, like more than this fake person.
Yeah.
So, that whole story aside, when I was telling my clients about it in the lash room the next week, they were like, maybe you should write the stories. And I was like, oh,
That's a great idea. I love it.
maybe. Yeah. So that's when I like joined a Facebook group, and I was kind of searching because I realized that there's different genres of sexy, spicy novel.
Yes.
Erotica, I guess is really what we'll probably call it. There's
Yes.
different genres. You kind of gotta, pick or whatever. Maybe you don't. I don't know.
Yeah.
And
There's
then
lots of
even
subgenres.
Yeah. And then, which I mean, it's just interesting to even like start researching that. But then like
Yeah.
I was even asking Melissa about like the different levels of like word spiciness and choosing the words that you're going to use and how like blunt and
Yeah.
descriptive you are and how do you know like what how do you know what words to use?
It's so hard because it's like, I mean, we're not normally like narrating our sexy times in our heads, and so it's a little weird. But I kind of have to like think about like how would this character actually say this? And some are more like demure than others,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
so it does differ depending on the story. I think the book that I'm writing now is the steamiest one so far. It's like they just get steamier. So by the time I get to the end at book 5, I'm just gonna be like, everything, cock, dick.
Well, well, I feel like with who's left,
It
I
makes sense.
yeah, and I'm thinking of Luca, and I just feel like, I mean, given his reputation, like
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
got to be steamy.
It's definitely gonna be
And
steamy.
I'm wondering if I don't know, she might be too young. I'm thinking of a character, but have we possibly been I don't know if you can tell me this, so just tell me if you can't. Have we been introduced to yet to who Luca is going to?
Yes. Yes,
Hmm.
we have. I won't tell you who, but yes.
I wonder if it's who I'm thinking of. Oh, because that would be really interesting. Okay, well, I can't wait. But when's his is his next or not?
I can't tell you that
Okay,
either.
that's all. No, no problem. You just tell me what you can and can't tell me because I get it.
Yeah,
I'll be either
so
way.
I technically, if you read the epilogue in book 3, you should have a pretty good idea of who's coming next. Because I drop a big hint in the last line. And book 3 though,
Oh,
it's
it's
book
on my
3.
phone.
Like those aren't
Okay,
gonna
I'll read
help
it
you
later.
this time.
I'm
So
like, let's
yeah,
stop the podcast. Let me catch up. I'm like, I just read this like not too long ago. Okay,
yes,
go ahead.
you'll have
Sorry.
a very good idea of who it is if you read that epilogue. Um, and so of course, then with that said, then you'll know who's going to be last too.
Ah, well, those look so
I'm
cute up there.
excited.
I'm excited too. Okay, well, let's skip back a little bit and we'll go back to
Yeah.
a little bit about you. And when I first met you, it was actually when I was doing lashes in Nashville and I lived in Nashville
Yes.
and had you as a client and
Yes,
always loved you as a client. And you were doing nails, like you had your own
I
business.
did.
So, yeah,
Yes.
tell us about yourself, Melissa.
I'm kind of one of those like Jill of all trades, master of none types, and I think that's that helps me with my storytelling because I have
Hmm.
experience in a lot of really weird areas. But yeah, I had a nail salon for several years, and I loved it. Honestly, it was so fun. Um, Sorry, my little thing was almost coming unplugged. So I I loved it, but my body didn't love it so much.
Mm.
And so I was having a lot of health issues and stuff. And so I had to take a step back. And so I started doing like marketing and stuff for small businesses because I had had success on my own with doing marketing for my small business.
Hmm.
So I was doing that. And then the panini hit in 2020.
I love that word, the panini,
The panini.
the grand panini.
Yeah. And with that, I mean, obviously like people were in lockdown and like businesses were shutting down left and right because it was just, I mean, completely unprecedented. And so with that, my work dried up.
Hmm.
And I was like, I mean, like everyone else, like everyone else in the entire world, we were all going through it. I was going through it too. And then on top of that, my grandmother was really, really sick. And I was just trying to cope and I just needed something to focus on. And so I just had the idea for this story in my head. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to write a book. Let's just write a book. Why not?
Hmm.
Um, And so I wrote that first book in 2020 in about 3 months. And then I released it that October.
Oh,
So
that was so quick then.
it
Wow,
was
that's
pretty
so
fast.
cool.
But it was this particular story, it just kind of flew out. And weirdly, the original idea was my last story in the series. And I kind of went
Oh,
backward,
okay. Mm-hmm.
um, and just kind of started thinking about like all the different people involved, in the band and like how their stories would progress. For example, the person in the second book, both people in the second book, they were not. I had no intentions of giving them a story
Oh, so
initially.
glad you did though.
Yeah, initially that was not part of my plan. It was going to be focused on just the members of the band, and yeah, but as I was writing it, I was like, now this is happening
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to have to happen next. Like it just felt right for that to be the next step.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I've just kind of done a little bit of everything. I always wanted to be a writer, but it felt like a pipe dream, and like that was not a thing that like regular people just got to do.
Mm-hmm.
Spoiler alert, we're all regular people. I was so stupid in thinking that, but um
Well,
yeah,
and sometimes we just need that space to let these things come to life.
yes.
And had you so how long had that story been in your head? And have you always kind of had stories in your head like that and thought about writing them and just kind of
Yeah.
pushed it away or
Yes, I've always had ideas like bouncing around in my head. And of course they change and evolve over the years. This particular idea was something I'd had. I actually started writing. I actually have not told anyone this. I had started writing it as a play.
mm,
The fifth book. Well, what will be the fifth book. And so it's been there, but then as this whole vision of this world kind of came into my mind, I saw where that fit, and I was like, okay, but that's like too much to start with. Let's back it up a little bit.
mhm, mhm.
So yeah, somewhere around here I still have that story and that play, and um believe it or not, the dog's name was the same name as the dog in book 2. Which is also now my dog's name.
Yeah.
Yeah. So some things stayed the same, but then like, some things got picked apart and moved around.
That's so cool. So it finally just came to life.
Yeah.
Who in your life, who first inspired you? Like, was there someone when you were younger or just in your life in general that has inspired you to bring forth that creative side in you or be a writer?
Oh gosh. I thank her in my acknowledgments every single time, but I had a teacher when I was in
Mm,
high school,
okay.
Mrs. Ross, and she was amazing, and she was the one that really encouraged me throughout my high school career of, to she felt like I had a voice and I should use it. And she saw a talent in me that it took me a long time to even really see in myself. But she encouraged me to do writing competitions and stuff like that. And honestly, if she hadn't really pushed me at that time in my life, I don't know that I would have ever gotten to this point. If I
Hmm.
would have ever, because like her voice was always in the back of my head. It still is,
Yeah.
and that's years because I'm 38 years old.
Hmm.
So I mean, it sticks with me and it stayed with me. So yeah, she's a big inspiration to me.
Yeah, that's the power of somebody telling you like that they believe in you,
It is,
and
and
then
it's so
circling back to
important.
that. Oh, that's so cool. I love that.
Yeah, it's super
I
important.
what I love about your books, and I'm gonna do like a whole intro before because I realize we've not really set ourselves up well, but we're just like discussing. But
Yeah.
I will give way more information in the prologue or the whatever we call it. The intro of the podcast. But what I love about your books from the very beginning is so I used to live in Nashville, and there are real landmarks and real things that you tie in, like that you bring
Yeah.
into the books. I'm just like, oh my gosh, like my heart, like I love that. Like talking about the neighborhoods, like the Ryman. I mean,
Yes.
yes, like I describe it the exact same way. And then in the second one, when Santa's Pub, I was like, oh, Santa's Pub. Oh my gosh. I
Yes.
was immediately so excited because that's such a classic, iconic, well, to me anyway,
It
like,
is.
and
It
many
really
people.
is.
And like your first experience there is just unforgettable. I mean, I still remember the first time I went there and I
Yes.
met his name is Denzel is Santa. I got his name.
Yeah.
Yeah. He like saved me from a rude guy. He like, well, he didn't save me, but he like threatened the guy that was being rude. And I was just like, you forever have a place in my heart. It's really nice.
Oh,
It's so cool, and it's just like this smoky, like double wide,
it
cash
is.
only, beer only.
Yes, and if you like whenever you go in there, you have to be prepared to burn whatever that you wear because like you'll never
100%.
get it out. You'll never get it out.
100%. Like when the next day when the character is being told that she stinks, yes, like yeah, you really do.
Yes. You
Um
know if you've been to Santa's Pub, like you know.
yeah. And
Yeah.
I love that. And I'm like imagining that I'm part of like their group, like part of their friend group. Like you could easily be sitting on the couch with them eating Oreos and watching. And I've actually never watched Gilmore Girls, like confession, but I feel like I'd be sitting there watching it with them or Golden Girls or like whatever.
Yeah.
And then in the third one, you mentioned, or well, it's not really mentioned, there's like a whole storyline around Project Nina. And I would
Yes.
love for you to share more about that here on the podcast.
Yeah. I've actually got an auction going on for them right now. And so anyway, so Project Nina is basically they are an organization that helps underserved communities in the Nashville area, specifically Northeast Nashville. And it is the founder of the organization is my friend Lindsay Langley, and she is in the book.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
But I have volunteered with them for several years. And I've gotten to see firsthand how much that they impact the community. One year, it was like about 3 or 4 years ago, I was shopping for my kid at that time. Before it was done like kind of like an angel tree type of thing where you get a specific child and then you have a list and whatnot.
mm-hmm,
So I was shopping for my kid. And when I get to the checkout at Old Navy, I was asking the young lady about the return policy so that if the kid wanted to return anything, if the parent needed to return anything, that they could. And I explained who I was doing it for. And then she, like, tears immediately welled in her eyes. And she was like, oh my God, Project Nina, if it wasn't for them, my kids wouldn't have had a Christmas last year.
mm-hmm,
And I was just like, are you kidding me? And so we ended up having this whole conversation and getting to just see that and know. And she's like, it really did. It changed our lives. And now we're in such a much better place. And like, how big and impactful is that, something as simple as, I mean, because like for me, like that is a simple thing that I was able to provide at that time in my life. Like I could,
mm-hmm,
provide those Christmas gifts and like what an impact that had on them going forward.
mm-hmm.
Um, just giving a hand up. Like that's what it's all about.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, I have cried a lot reading your books. I've laughed a bunch and I've been like, oh, and I've definitely cried because
Yeah.
another thing that I do love is, and I've read plenty of romantic novels. I've read some of the like spicier stuff where it's like the same alpha male and the girl who didn't need saving, but now she does because he's in her life or like whatever. And those I just got really tired of those, but I love there's another series that I've read a long time ago, and I love a group that's interconnected and you get
Yeah.
to know each one and you get to know each one, like you get to go through their whole story and get to
Yes.
know them. And you bring a lot of human and heart, like human nature and heart into their stories. And that makes them, have to be vulnerable and open up and into
Yes.
receiving like the love and the real support and not feeling so alone even within their own little family group. And
Yes.
yeah, so I've definitely there's been tears but
Yeah.
laughs and then always I mean always lovely endings. I don't know if that's giving away too much, but it's a rom-com. Come on, people.
Yeah, I mean it's part of the genre, like it's
Yeah.
part of the contract. And but I love that because
Yeah.
you get to explore these very complex emotions and situations, but with the safety net of a happily ever after. And
Mhm.
I think that that's what
Mhm.
makes this genre so special to me. I mean, of course, there's all kinds of romance out there, but for me specifically, my personal kind of brand is I love to have very real problems within my stories, ones that will extend beyond the final page.
Mhm.
We deal with subjects like infertility,
Mhm.
grief, complex family dynamics, and these are not things that just go away. It's they leave lasting impressions, or it's something you deal with consistently. And I love that we can, kind of go through those emotions in a safe way, and also kind of get to see that, happily ever after is still possible. It just might look different than how you imagined it.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And bringing awareness to all of that as well, and not
Yes.
just like they met and they had great chemistry and all was well.
Yes.
Like
Which,
I go
I
ahead.
don't want to like, I never want to disparage, because like, I think that there is such a great place for those types of books. Like, I know, like, I love them. It's like, especially when you just need a good escape.
Hmm.
My books are not, I would not say that they're a good escape. Like, there are definitely moments that are fun and funny,
Yeah.
but can be heavier.
Yeah. I
And
guess I like going through all of that with them. So
yes. So that's like, I know that that's like my particular type of reader, right? But there are some wonderful, like, just like feel good, and I love
hmm.
those stories. I love them. I enjoy reading them as a reader, but as a writer, like, I say, how like you have like method actors. Um,
Hmm.
I'm a method writer, and I'm in it. So if they're in the dark and twisty place, I am in the dark and twisty place. And it's
Yeah.
just, you can always tell what part, like what act I'm in the book based on how I'm acting. Like if I'm
Like in real
super
life.
depressed, yes, yes, you can totally tell. You can totally tell. It's so funny.
Well, I would imagine like because I felt like throughout all of the women so far, like it is kind of easy to connect to different parts of them. Like I really loved Liv. I loved that whole like dream unspoken, unknown, and kind of pushed
Yes,
away and then realized. Like, I mean, what a dream that would be to be on stage with your man, like singing
yes,
romantic songs. I love that whole idea. But I also loved Ella and just how freaking sassy and blunt she was, but also like apparently completely unaware of how like gorgeous and amazing she is too. Like she just
yes,
brushes it aside. And I just
yes,
love how that like I love the humor. And I feel like that's a lot of you too. So like I
yeah,
know, like, listen, it's been a while since I lived in Nashville and I don't even remember how long you were a client, but you just it like I also follow you on social media and it just feels like you come through a lot.
yes.
So which is
Yes.
okay.
Friends that have told me that, they're like, I can hear you saying it in this. I literally hear your voice when I read this part. And I'm like, yeah, that's right.
Well,
Yeah,
but and that's why I think that's how I think it draws like a person in too. Is
yeah,
you're really good at making it feel like conversational and like you're part of the story. So like I'm
yes.
there when the things are going down. Like apparently I'm like one of the dogs. That's what no, I'm just kidding. Like watching while they're having their spicy scene. No, I'm just kidding. That's weird and pervy. Uh I mean, moving on from that. How do we recover now? So are you working on the fourth one or
I am. I'm currently working on the fourth book. I'm about I am halfway through it actually. And I'm excited about this one. So it's definitely steamier. It's definitely steamier. And it's just, it's very relatable, at least for me, I guess. Like, and I think that I didn't relate to the characters in book 3 as much. So I feel like I kind of went on this journey with them. But with this particular book, I feel like I'm holding my character's hand through it. Like, it's gonna be
mm-hmm.
okay. I've been
Yeah.
there. We're all gonna be okay.
Uh,
Um, but Yeah,
I can't wait to see who it is.
yeah, you'll have to go back and read that last line because you'll know instantly. Um, and then I have another project I'm working on outside of the Midnight in Dallas universe,
Okay.
that I intend to release next year as well. It's kind of a passion project. It's still a like in the rom-com family. There will be no spice in this one because it's a Christmas story, but it's a dual perspective book, but it's with a mother and a daughter
Okay.
telling their respective sides of a story and how they basically just stir up a bunch of shit in each other's lives. And like, yes, it's so much fun. It's like the most fun I've had writing anything ever.
Yay, cool.
So yeah, and then the last book of the Midnight Dallas series, there's one more after this one and I'm done. So that's crazy.
So, okay. Well, also just another thing. I love the dual perspective. I think that's so fun.
It is fun.
There's I'm not sure if maybe it was honestly nothing against 50 Shades of Grey, but I feel like that was maybe one of the first times I read, well, I think it was one of the first times I read a book like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Aside from the Anne Rice novels that I read when I was much younger and probably too young to be reading some of that very graphic things that were happening with witches and demons and vampires.
Hmm.
That was probably one of the first books that I read like as an adult that was, you know, pretty graphic sexually. It
Yeah.
was a
I think
lot
it
of
was for a lot
fun.
of people. I think
Yeah.
it was. And like, I think, I mean, honestly, like E.L. James really, I feel like opened the door for so many romance authors because honestly, like, it's not that people weren't reading it before. The people, I mean, women have always been reading these novels. They've existed forever. But now, like, I feel like that kind of brought about this like pride in it, like
Hmm.
not only am I reading it, I'm proud of fucking reading it. And,
Yeah.
like it was like women kind of taking back that like, people called it like mommy porn or whatever. And it's like, no, that was women reclaiming their sexuality and their sexual power and, their desires and wants. And
Hmm. And their
that is
curiosities.
that is fucking amazing. And like I honestly like I applaud E.L. James for that. Like
Yeah.
she was kind of the pioneer when it came to that. And I feel like it opened up so many doors for the rest of us.
Yeah. It feels like it really brought that more mainstream than like, the Walmart like Fabio cover style
Yes.
stuff, which I've
Yes.
never read. So like I can't, say anything to that. And I
Yes.
didn't dislike 50 Shades of Grey. Was it cheesy at times? Sure. But a lot of things are. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I can't say I
Absolutely.
didn't. I liked the movies. I mean, I thought
Yeah.
they brought a couple beautiful people in and like,
They
hello.
did.
So I think yeah, that's such a good point. It's just like another step in women and people feeling open about what they do want and in bed or
Yes.
want for sexually. And yeah, that's
And
so cool.
romance is actually the highest grossing genre of all genres of books.
I
Um,
mean, I
and I think it's
can't see
becoming
why
even
not.
more so.
Yeah.
And I truly do. I feel like, you're getting generations of women that are more comfortable with, expressing themselves that way and embracing that part of them. And I just think that is so badass. And I'm just excited that I get to be like a part of that. It's really
Hmm.
fun.
Yeah. So would you consider this like just a chapter of your life, or like do you want to keep allowing things to come in and writing? Like, do you want
Oh,
to?
I definitely intend to continue writing. Like
Yay.
that
Good.
is not going to change. The stories that I write may change a bit. I've definitely got other types of stories in my head, things that are leaning a little bit more women's fiction than romance necessarily. But I do feel like all of my books will have a romantic element just because it's something that I just personally love so much. And
Mm-hmm.
I love reading books like that even if they're focused more on the woman's journey, that they still have that, that fun element to it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, so I do intend to continue. I sometimes I think I want to bridge the gap into the traditional space, but then sometimes I'm like, I don't know, being an indie is kind of great, like in the respect
Yeah.
that you do have a certain amount of creative control and
What do you
I
mean
don't
by
know.
that? Tell me what you mean, like more by that.
About the
Like
having,
coming into so I guess this probably was part of my question of like what it's like
yeah,
to be an indie artist, but also just describing for the listeners, like
yeah.
what does that mean? And when you say coming more into the traditional space, like what does that mean?
Okay. So when you're an indie author, pretty much everything is on you. So you are it's owning a business essentially. So it's, you're creating the product, you're doing the marketing, um, basically everything. Now,
Mhm.
of course, if you've got the budget for it, you can hire some of that stuff out, but the majority of us, we don't have that until
Yeah.
you get to reach a certain point of success, right? So, um, it's it can feel very alone at times, and it can feel very overwhelming. Um, for me specifically, I mean, I can't speak for everybody else, but I get very overwhelmed, and I'm just like, I don't know if I can do this.
Yeah. Like want to burn it.
um,
Like, "Oh, never mind. I'm going to sail away."
yes, I think indie authors especially are very prone to burnout,
Mhm.
for this reason, because like you do feel like you're constantly dropping a ball, and I mean, unfortunately, the reality is you are, but we have to just accept that we can't do everything and do it all at one time.
Mhm.
But with a traditional publisher type of thing, basically, like I could write a book and query to an agent or two agents, and then if I was lucky enough to get an agent, then they would take my work and basically pitch it to publishers who could then basically buy the book.
Mhm.
Um, and it's how a lot of your people, like, you look at people like Nicholas Sparks, and Colleen Hoover is now I think in the trad kind of spectrum. She was an indie author at one point. But there's lots of benefits to having a publisher and an agent on your side, and access to the editors and everything that provides. But not to mention the fact that you don't have to pay for all that stuff up front. They're paying for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so it would be nice. Sometimes I think it would be fun, but then I'm also like, oh, I kind of love having the creative control. So we'll see. I think the next year is going to tell me a lot about where I'm going to go.
Yeah. That's ominous.
Yeah, it is.
You're like, you're telling me. Well, I
Girl.
mean, the life of a business owner is really never easy. And I mean, obviously, like there's going to be ups and downs and what are like, do you have any sage words of wisdom or like tips or things that you would tell somebody that maybe is an aspiring or beginner writer in this space?
I think that a lot of people, when they first start out, they have kind of like stars in their eyes, and it's like, it's going to be like, it's not going to matter that I'm working so hard because I'm going to love it. Like, hold on there. Let's back up. You might love it, but that whole saying about like, if as long as you love what you're doing, you'll never work a day in your life is bullshit.
Yeah, there's still
Bullshit,
work
bullshit,
involved.
bullshit. In fact, I was having this conversation with a friend the other day. I was like, I think you actually work harder because it matters so much more to you. You're not just, going in and like clocking in and doing the work for the man, whatever. You are like, this is something you want with your whole heart, and it makes it where you work so much harder. It's great, but you also want to just pull your hair out, So
Yeah.
I think knowing that, managing your expectations, getting honest with yourself about what you're good at and what you're not good at. And by that, I mean like editing or cover design or whatever. Some people are
Hmm.
able to make
Hmm.
their own covers, some people can edit their own books and produce a beautiful product. But if that's not your strong point, that's okay. There are resources out there. There are in all kinds of price ranges that you can outsource that kind of work. Yeah, so just like managing those expectations, and know that it is a process. It is definitely a marathon, not a sprint. I think the overnight success stories, they do exist, but they're very few and far between, and a lot of that is just a matter of luck in
Yeah.
that book getting into the right hands at the right time, and then it just blows up.
Yeah.
So if that's not you, it doesn't mean your book isn't good. It's just a matter of, that's just how it is sometimes.
Yeah. Well, not to mention that there could have been many stories or rejections or many drafts or many, years
Yes.
of not getting there for then there to, oh, I just hit my own mic, to have that like overnight, I'm using air quotes, like overnight success, which is, I
Yes.
mean, I see that, I've seen that in my own brick and mortar business. Like,
Yes.
oh my gosh, you're so booked out. Like, that's so amazing. Okay. Well, I also spent like 2 years struggling to get clients, or even in the online coaching space, which is totally wild and like such a different, it's such a
Yes.
different thing, just, and kind of maybe in this similar vein as, just marketing yourself online and really
Yes.
kind of, not that we're only stuck in the online space. Obviously, you could do things in person, and I can connect with people in person too. And I feel like sometimes I forget that,
Right.
to make sure to still be like out there and making real life connections,
Yes.
just also for
Definitely.
sanity and all of that.
Yes.
But
Absolutely.
yeah, and then also the fact that when you've put your heart and soul into something, and then yes, like you said, managing those expectations, because
Yes.
it's like you can't not care, it's
Oh no.
so hard to be neutral about something that takes so much creative effort. And I've been really trying to work on that myself, as like, you know what, I love this and I'm putting it out there, and most of my stuff is just like, it's a post or something, it's not really that big of a deal. But even like creating programs, or hosting workshops and putting a lot of time into creating things, and then maybe it never happens, or maybe no one shows up, and you're just kind of like, okay, yay.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you
It's
to my
very hard.
soul. My soul is hurting now.
But like that's where like I have to, for me, I have to take something from that. Like I have to examine
Mhm.
it and go, okay, what about this didn't work? Is there
Yes.
something I could tweak? Is it a matter of, in my case, is it a matter of tweaking a title or a blurb or a cover?
Going back and
Or
adding some more spiciness.
adding more spiciness. I mean, I think, it always provides a good learning opportunity.
Mhm.
And you have to remember that everybody on social media, they're all posting the highlight reels. And I mean, we're
Mhm.
all guilty of it. We've all done it. I've gotten to the point where now like I'm trying to be very open about my journey, because I realized that people like made assumptions to think that I was doing better than I was. Like they just assumed that I was like very successful. And I'm like, I literally made $0 like this on this day and this day and this day. And so I've
Mhm.
started sharing those things. I was inspired by my friend. She's also an indie author that y'all need to check out. Her name is S.L. Astor, and she had shared about her journey of trying to get her book in her local Barnes and Noble store. And basically, they were just like, nah, and ridiculous, ridiculous. Like I just it's so frustrating because you want like you can't really get visibility unless you're out there, but then the people, they don't want you to be visible. They
Yeah.
just want
You're a
to sell the same
bookstore,
like.
but you don't want to sell my book.
And that's such a
Okay.
great partnership too, because they're
Yeah.
I mean, it might be Barnes and Noble, but it's still a local Barnes and Noble. And so
Mhm.
that would be a great partnership. But so she was sharing about that and how disappointing that was. And so that inspired me to share, and show like the back end of my Kindle Direct Publishing, and show people like this is what it looks like, today. And it's been looking like this a lot recently. Like, on some days I don't get any page reads from Kindle. Sales can be complete trash,
Mhm.
and when you're over 2 years into the journey, like that can be very discouraging. And
Yeah.
so that's why I show it, because I know I have a lot of people that are you know kind of dipping their foot into publishing, or they want to. And it's like, look, you can look at people and think, oh gosh, they're doing so great, but this is the reality for some. Like it's not all it looks to be. It's not always,
Mhm. Just
you know
butterflies and rainbows and
yeah,
unicorns and magic.
it can be very disappointing. And so just kind of sharing that part of my journey, and I've seen more and more people doing that too. And I love that. I think that's great. And just showing people what the indie publishing world really looks like for
Yeah.
the majority.
Yeah, I think that's important for a lot of industries to show that. I see that a little bit more in the beauty industry as well, as it's not like you don't just become an amazing like, or nail artist even, like, you're not just
Mhm.
amazing, like, right away. You don't just get clients because you posted one time. Just because you announced your business opening doesn't mean anyone on Facebook gives a shit. Like, I mean, maybe if
Exactly.
you're bitching about your ex-husband or something, people really love the drama, like
Yes.
they'll be like, "Oh girl, I'm gonna do da like, well, I opened a new business, put my heart and soul and money into it. Come see me." Crickets. Like, it's quite amazing. Like, you want to
Yeah.
talk about something stupid like pineapple on pizza? Hundreds of comments for weeks. Stupid.
Yes.
So stupid. Also, the
Yes.
fact that somebody put anchovies on their pizza in one of your books, I was like, I cannot. This, who even sells anchovies for pizza anymore?
Oh yeah, I don't eat
Obviously,
that.
this popped into my mind. I was like,
I know, so gross.
no. Yeah, I really think that that is all important to remember. And, you know, being able, I don't know, like, not that you have a responsibility, but being able to be somebody that is brave enough to share their voice in that way too
Yes.
can
I
help
mean,
connect people.
I think like having that visual like it would just be so helpful to anybody, like just to know that like don't give up just because it's not
Yeah.
going so great right now. Like I mean, seasons change, they always do.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, what was it like going from, this is sort of in the same vein, but I've been thinking about this quite a bit, going from like a brick and mortar in person to mostly online, like at home work. What was that transition like? I mean, because like when you're in the beauty world, you were talking and doing all day long, and then to
Yeah,
go to, because I'm assuming that you did marketing mostly from home.
I did, but I was also like always taking meetings and stuff.
Oh,
So I
okay.
was out a lot, but so I
Mhm.
didn't really transition to like full on being in home until the panini. And yeah, that was but see at the time like my husband was working from home too, so it was kind of cool. Like we got to like hang out and it was just nice. And then when he went back to work, that was when I was like, what the fuck am I supposed to do now? This sucks. It's very quiet. Um I mean, minus like my, 18 animals, like
Yeah.
it was pretty quiet. So that was definitely an adjustment. And I think for me, like it's a matter of like I do have to get out of the house and I will get into this rut, especially because like I have anxiety, I deal with depression. And sometimes like I don't know, sometimes working from home can be maybe detrimental to that that aspect of myself
Yeah, I totally get
because
it.
like
Yeah.
you're like I don't want to leave the house and then the next thing you know like you've been wearing like the same like sweatshirt for 17 days and you haven't
Yeah.
talked to anyone except for your dog and it's like
Yeah.
oh I need to get out of the
Yeah.
house
Cat
it's time
lady.
to get out of the house.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
usually I do work in person. I'm doing lashes part-time again now, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Oh awesome.
And that has been kind of good for me, I realized, because, well, I just am really comfortable alone. Like, I'm cool. Like, I don't need
Yeah,
to have a ton, but I also do realize that I do need to have some
a little bit. Yep.
interaction. It is good for me and I do enjoy it, and especially with certain people, right?
Yes.
But definitely my Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday can be pretty much just me and the cat.
Yeah.
And then I'll, get back to the world on a Wednesday and I'll be like, oh, you can tell I haven't talked to anyone in like 4 days. Or like if I go to the grocery store and the lady like
Yeah.
asks me a question and my voice doesn't really come out very well because
Yes.
maybe I haven't been singing and talking to myself a bunch.
Yes. Uh-huh. I can relate to this very much.
Yeah. And it's also like there's times where it's like I want to leave, but maybe I'm like, "Ugh, I want to leave and I should get out of the house, but I like don't want to." And
It's
then
so
there's
much
days,
effort.
yeah. And then there's days like the other day, it was like, I know if I just go to this coffee shop, I'm gonna get so much done. Like I'll get in my zone. But it took me like an extra half hour to get out of the house too. And I didn't even know why. I was just like procrastinating going and being in public. Such a weirdo.
No, I do it
Just,
too. And
yeah.
I'm telling you, like, it's gotten so much worse for me. Like, I don't know. Like, I've always been a very awkward person, but now it's like I'm around people and I just forget how to human. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I just feel like it's so glaringly obvious. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I don't know how to do this anymore.
Yeah, they'll be like, the coffee shop is slam packed. There's like 5 people behind me. And I'm like, hi, how are you? Like, how's it going? And they're like, please just order. Like, they're very polite and they're like, good.
Yeah, like,
And I'm like,
okay.
okay, well, I would like this. And like, I guess I could just like trying to have some stupid
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh my
it's
gosh.
challenging.
What was I telling I think I told my sister it wasn't too long ago that I was like in the drive-through of the bank doing something like making a deposit or something. And whatever she said to me, I said like you too, or see, I said see you later. I was like, see you later. What? Okay, bye,
I do
lady.
that all the time. I like, even if I'm never gonna see the person again, see you
Yeah, love you, bye. Oh,
later.
just a bank teller that you never see. Like I'm in the drive-through like 5 times a year, if that. I
Yeah.
mean, just hardly ever.
So you're like, I will see you later. It might be like several months, but I will see you,
Yeah. See you
hopefully.
later, lady. Thanks for your help. So dumb. I think she was helping me with like my debit card or something. I had some extra questions because they were supposed to send it and I was checking on it. So we had this whole conversation and she was like, okay, thanks. Have a nice day. And I was like, all right, see you later. It's like I immediately laughed at myself, like, why did you say that?
Yep, I can relate.
Yeah. So that it has been good for me. And I work in a spa. And there's generally like, a couple of people wandering around and some activity. So it has been good,
Yeah.
even if I'm pretty comfortable with people sleeping through their appointments. It has been good for me to get out and like have a little human interaction. Since
Yeah.
I took kind of more of a break from like coaching, hardcore coaching stuff this year and the summer, and like even posting on social media, like I was making a ton of
Yeah.
content. I like moved into some social media management and all of that, like talking about pivoting. I mean, like, let's talk about that because you're like, you've mentioned kind of a second act
Yes.
concept. And I definitely, I don't know, I can see that as well because I have been in a position when I moved away from Nashville, I moved to Arizona. And then I moved right back here because that did not fucking work out. Like in any,
Yeah.
it just sometimes doesn't look like what you think it's going to. And it very much didn't. And I moved back here and I was just so burned out on the lash industry. It wasn't really like anything to do with clients.
Yeah.
It was just really the lash industry, kind of the work, because it's hard on your body to just like sit there in those positions all day.
Oh gosh, I
And,
can't
and it's
imagine.
so fucking tedious.
Yes.
But like
Yes.
I was just burned out as a whole. Like I'd done the things that I thought that I wanted to do, and I was like, fuck everybody. And it led me to thinking, like, well, what else can I be besides the lash girl? Like, what else can I be? And then I ended up getting into getting my personal training certification and doing like nutrition coaching, and then we
Yeah.
just call ourselves coaches now, which I don't even really like label myself like I have a title like personal trainer, but just consider myself
Right.
like more wellness and blah 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 blah. But I guess so my point is like over time there has been like this pivot and this transition where I'm like in my late 30s. Actually, I turned 40 a couple of weeks ago. So I'm forgetting how old we are. But it's just like a whole like transition where I could just stay comfortable in this industry that I've known forever, but I really desired to do something else. And I'm just constantly like trying to get there. But even in the meantime, like pivoting and doing some social media management, didn't see that one coming. But
Yeah.
I actually enjoy it. And it's nice. Like it's nice to have that creative outlet, but it doesn't have anything to do with me.
Yes. Yes. I can understand that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so, especially, I mean, because like so I'm 38. But I think that a lot of women like in our age bracket and older, um, I remember being in high school and it was like you needed to know what you wanted to do with your life at that time.
Hmm.
And they really like hammer that home. And it
Yeah.
wasn't like, they weren't encouraging, I don't know if they do that now. I have no, frame of reference, but like, I don't know. They were always encouraging you to know what to do. Like they weren't encouraging like, gap years or like, any kind of like real explore, like self exploration of
Yeah.
like
Just go to
getting out in the
college.
world.
This is
Yeah.
like, what are you going to college for? Then you go to college.
Yes. And I know so many people that have like they either like they went to school to do whatever and then they ended up not doing it and they've tried different things. But like it would be so nice if we were able to just try things, before that. And like for me, again, like I didn't really think that writing was a thing that I could do. Like I didn't think that was a real, possibility for me. And I think there was a certain like thing that kind of happened again with the pandemic. It was just like, well, why the hell not? What else am I going to do? But I just I think we as women, especially as women, I think we have a penchant for um falling into what we're good at, not necessarily what we're passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like you said, we get comfortable and it's a safe thing. Like it's a guaranteed paycheck. It's all these things. And so it's like, okay, well, is that what I want? And if it is, then that's great. For some people, that's exactly what they want. Like just
Mm-hmm.
having like not having to take it home with you and that kind of thing. And I think that's awesome.
Yeah, 100%.
Um,
It's really nice.
but I've known a lot of people that also, got to a point in their, mid 30s or even, mid 40s, and that they're like, this isn't really what I want to do. I want to do this. And I feel like now I'm running out of time. And that's also not true. You're not running out of time unless you're in the ground. So,
Yeah.
we're still here, still have time. So I think, if there's a passion that you have, you've got to explore, you owe it to yourself to explore it, in whatever capacity that is, whether it's, taking a class or, I mean, there's tons of like online, free resources and whatnot. And, but just at least explore it, see,
Yeah.
what could happen. Cause you never know. Cause you could end up writing a book
Yeah. Well, and then it could also, like I've seen this lately, it could also just be something you love doing and maybe it's not
Yes,
monetized. We don't have to monetize all of
absolutely.
our passions.
That is so true.
Yeah.
For
Could just be
like
a hobby.
I love to paint. And I would never like charged for that. Like that's just the thing. It's just for me. It's just for me. I love doing it.
Hmm.
It's my way to like unwind and relax. So yeah, I think that's another thing. Like let's normalize not having to monetize everything.
Hmm. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I feel like we could chat about so many different things. Have you ever shared or do you share who the band Midnight in Dallas is inspired by?
Um, it's not really anybody specific, as far as like musically. It's kind of like a like mishmash of like Ed Sheeran, the Lumineers, Need to Breathe, Shawn Mendes. Like I just like picture all this together.
Hmm. I know that was kind of a like total switch in topic, but my mind just came back to that question because I kind of love that just because it does like it allows the reader to have their own kind of version. Because I know who I kind of
Yes.
imagine, which is honestly
Yes.
more Kings of Leon, but with maybe out
Yeah.
without so many. Well, I don't know. Luca is kind of an alcoholic, but like, yeah, I mean, just saying. So like,
Yeah.
yeah. So I kind of imagine like that style. Um, and then also, I think that they would make great movies too. So,
Oh, I would love that. Are you kidding
yeah,
me? I
that'd
would
be
lose my
so
mind.
cool. Yeah, I saw
Yes.
you post the other day, the guy from TikTok that looked like, was it Dallas that you were
Yes.
thinking he looked like? Yeah,
Yes. It was so
yeah,
weird. He came across my like
he's
feed
a
and I was like,
cutie.
his name is Dallas. Oh my God. If I find out he plays drums, I will just lose my
Lose
mind.
it. Yeah,
I'll lose it.
so
Like
cute.
if he does, I don't want to know. I don't want to know about it. Just don't tell me.
Yeah. I think that would be
So weird.
so fun. I just think they'd be, yeah, I totally think that. So we're just gonna be open to all the possibilities
Yes.
and
Put that out into the universe with Netflix. I would love that. Please. Oh my God.
how
That'd be
much
amazing.
how much do you feel like you bring like your real life into your books?
there's always like that like little mustard seed of truth, like somewhere in the
I like that.
stories. And like for Liv, for example, like what she was going through and having that kind of second act, like she was going through that while I was going through that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
In book two, you know, you're dealing with a lot of grief.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like the book where I really like processed the loss of my grandma, and what grief looked like going forward and how it shapes and molds your life.
That book made me
Um,
cry so much.
yeah,
But I was
it
also
was,
really thankful to see a set of parents who was so nice.
oh my God, I love them so much. Like, I just want them to be real. I do. I just want
Right?
them to be real. I just love them
They're
so
so
much.
cute.
Oh, Delilah and Richard have my heart forever. Yeah, and book three was all about like others' expectations
Mm-hmm.
and you know
Oh
those
yeah.
complex family dynamics. And I mean, I think on some level we all can relate to that, whether that's like living up to societal expectations or our friends and family or whatever. And in fact, that was the book that I probably got the most comments on. Like it was crazy, like how many people were like, this really spoke to me.
Oh,
Whether
and
that they related to Joe or if they related to Derek's
mm-hmm.
situation. And I'm glad in that respect that it resonated because you know that was a subject, especially with Derek, that I wanted to tread very carefully and make sure that I did that subject justice, you know,
Yeah.
um and make you know help people to feel seen basically.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah,
Yeah.
it's just there's definitely lots. There are a lot of the funny moments that are pulled from my real life. Like Mama Kitty and the
Yeah, I
Mouse
was
in
gonna
book
say,
two.
oh,
I caught a mouse with my bare hands. Yes, I did.
fantastic. I was gonna say the
Yes,
animals are all
they're all based on my real animals. Some that are no longer with me, but yes, they've all been based on my real animals.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, there's definitely been a lot of like places that I love, like the Loving Pie companies in the first
Mm-hmm.
book,
Yeah, and I didn't
and
realize it has it actually closed.
it has
Oh,
closed.
that's
It
so
was
sad.
closed when I wrote it. Yeah,
So
it was
sad. I
already
love that
closed.
neighborhood though too. There's some
Yes.
really good restaurants around there. And I know I actually used to see somebody for massage over there. Did you
Yeah.
recommend me to her?
I don't
Maybe?
know. I might have. It would not
Maybe.
surprise me.
Well, and I remember because I saw her like several times at least. And also, I ended up with some sort of nail in my tire on the way to an appointment one
Oh
evening, and
no.
she helped me fucking change the flat tire.
Oh my God.
Like I heard the hissing as I got to my appointment, and she actually helped me change it. And she still gave me part of my massage. I was like,
Oh my
you're
God.
a freaking angel. So I remember
Wow.
that neighborhood so well because it is just a lot of like regular looking house. Well, I mean, it was like a lot of regular looking houses. I don't know how it
It
is today,
is
but
mostly still. I don't go super often anymore, but I mean it's definitely changed a lot. It's
yeah,
definitely changed a lot.
Nashville's changed a lot.
Yeah, I
Mm.
miss the pie company so much, but I that was the thing, like it was such a special place for me and it was a place where like for me like magic happened. Like good things always happen there and I wanted
Yeah,
to capture that
it's cute.
with Jackson Liv having their, you know, their moment of deciding are we going to do this music thing or not.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted it to be surrounded by that place.
Yeah,
So,
that's so
yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
And I was going to touch back to the storyline with Joe and Derek and that when people responding to that desire to be seen and loved and by your parent is like I feel like
It's
probably
huge.
universal. So
I
yeah,
think so.
I
Yes.
could I mean I did not have that type of childhood, but I could relate to his and the fact that he overcame so much on his own too.
Yes.
And then her story, while I don't have like, that exact storyline in my own life or that experience, but just the desire to really be seen when he never didn't really see her.
Yes.
But such a little baddie, man. She like, and in the end, I was like,
Yes.
okay, well, I could probably talk to you about this off air. So I don't want to ruin it. But I was like, with her dad, I was like, meh, still kind of on the fence about him.
Yes. Yes. Definitely.
Still kind of a
I
dick
could
in my
totally see
eyes.
that. I can totally see that. I can totally see that for sure. Yes.
But yeah, I've done a lot of healing in that area myself. So just kind
Yes.
of reading their story, I was like,
Yes.
hits you right in the heart.
Yes,
So
definitely. I
so
love them.
cathartic though.
It is. It really is. And I'll
For
be
me
honest, like
anyway.
I was very worried about the reception that they were going to get because I think coming off of the first two books, they are very strong. Um, they're very strong characters and like they're more in your face funny than Joe and Derek were. And so I was worried that people weren't going to like them, but I've got to say that I think that they have been kind of the favorite, which really shocked me as
Interesting. Yeah. I mean,
um
I think that I mean, it's basically like being seen and being
mhm,
accepted,
yes,
is pretty, seems like the pretty universal theme of that. And
yes,
and really like leaning into what you really are passionate about, regardless of what
yes.
other people may think. And hi, like it me.
It's me. Hi, hi, the problem is me.
Yeah, I'm like, it's not a problem, but it's me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's so interesting that so many people that resonated with them probably in maybe that same way too.
Yes.
Hmm.
And I feel like, I try to bring in flawed characters, but I think that Joe was probably my most flawed in a way. Like she was not very nice to Kimber in the beginning.
No, she was like
And
all uptight and so serious and so driven.
yes. And so you get to see like that's what I do love in any kind of story is I want to see people that aren't perfect because we're not perfect and see them fuck up and see them bounce back from it and become better people.
Yeah.
And that was what it was all about for Joe. And I think she realized what was up
Yeah.
and how much she was letting her dad kind of dictate who she was, not just in her career, but in her entire life. And it had everything had changed her.
Yeah.
That ambition that wasn't even hers to begin with had
Hmm.
really altered her personality.
Yeah. Every time that they kept saying that she was his daughter, I was like cringing, like, the barf emoji inside. I
Yes.
was like, ugh,
Yes.
ugh, that's so
Yes.
gross. Like, stop saying that, people. But I've also
Yes.
watched the morning show
Oh
fairly recently
my
too, and it reminded
God.
me a
I
lot of that.
love
I know
that
it's so
show.
good, isn't
I love that
it?
show so much.
The first season, I was like,
Incredible.
ugh. The second season, I thought almost everyone was a little bit annoying, but
Yeah.
I also loved the end. I
I
also loved the
also
ending
loved
with
it.
Jen Aniston, like in her
Yes.
COVID delirium.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
I kind of felt like like it maybe it was like, okay, we're like really digging into how annoying these people are, but there was some shock and awe. But that first
Definitely.
season, I was like, boy, wow,
It
could
was
Steve
the
Carell be
best.
any cringier? That is amazing.
It is amazing. I like what a testament to how great he is as an actor. Cause
Yeah.
like, wow.
Yeah.
My favorite on there is Billy Crudup. I just
Oh,
adore
so
him.
good. So good.
The
And
best.
especially in the first season when he's like truly delighting in
Yes.
all of like the chaos
He
that's coming
gets
towards
so
him.
giddy.
His expressions are so good. Like
So
watching
funny.
that the second time, I was like, he's a lot of fun. Like
He is the
he's
best.
just this wild card. Yeah. And he
Yes.
leans into it. I don't remember really what I thought about him in the second season because there was just like it was kind of like that slow, like unraveling,
Yes.
like shit was happening and Reese was
Yes.
whiny and Jen was whiny and she kept running back to Steve and like blah 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 and he wasn't really changing, like I just was
Yep.
like, oh, you guys are kind of like annoying, but
Yes.
flawed human beings.
We love it. Love to
But
see
also
it.
entertaining.
So entertaining.
Yeah. I mean,
Perfection is
like,
very boring.
yeah. Well, right, exactly. So, like, thinking of Joe, like, and it's so funny because when she was expecting this proposal and come to find out, like, her relationship wasn't anything. And it was like, wow,
Yeah.
you really were just like, check, 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 but not even really
Yes.
seeing like what any of it was for what it was, like, not seeing the truth of any
Yes.
of it.
Yes. And
Just
like, I
so
mean, like,
interesting.
and she is, in her early 30s. And I think, again, it's like when it kind of goes back to where we sometimes end up, where we think we should be, or, with what we're good at, or the people that we think we're supposed to be with, or whatever, instead of really thinking about, what we really want. And
Mm-hmm.
that sometimes what we need isn't what we want either.
Mm.
The people that we
Hmm.
need in our lives aren't necessarily the ones that we go to, and that we're gravitating to. So it's kind of doing a little bit of that introspective work and figuring out what we need.
Well, I have to say that I don't really know what it was about. Well, I want to move back to Nashville every time I read your books. I want to
Yeah.
move back to Nashville like every other week. But I for some reason in the third one, I think I really felt that way. Maybe it's because that's what she did.
Yeah.
She's able to like reconnect with her community that she'd kind of, left behind for her job opportunity. And when at the very beginning, when I realized it was Katie's friend that she had mentioned sort of in passing, I was like, oh, oh my gosh, I know,
Yes.
like so excited.
Yes.
I'm always so excited when I connect the dots.
And that was
Such
another
a
thing
dork.
where, like, I was worried because, I was bringing Joe into a group of very established characters.
Yeah.
And with, like, I mean, like, sight unseen, like, all you had ever heard of was her name, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that was very scary.
Oh, dude, but they had the best. I knew I was trying to remember like all the little things, like I was writing down like all the little things I wanted to gush to you about your books. And their meet cute though was the
I loved
best.
it. I had so much fun with that.
The best. I've actually been to was it Three Crow?
Yeah.
Is that what it's
Yeah.
called? I've been there
Uh-huh.
and I was like, I can definitely see this happening here. But it was
Yeah.
just so cute. And you think like, yeah, that's the kind of first meeting that everyone wants. I love
Yes.
that. So cute.
Yes.
And then of course I won't give the rest away, but like I was like, oh, it's so
Theirs is
exciting.
definitely my favorite of the meet cutes.
It's
Yeah,
pretty
for
cute.
sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
the first one's great too.
It's fun. It was
Yeah,
fun.
yes, definitely. So what else besides book writing, like what else are you passionate about in your life?
I mean, I love to paint, and I love my animals. Like, honestly, that's and reading. That's it. That's my entire life. I love to paint. I watch Gilmore Girls on repeat. Like, that's my comfort show right now. But it cycles. Like, I go through, phases with different ones.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's The Office. Um, but yeah, no, I am honestly a very boring person. I keep all my drama in my books.
Hardly.
And then I love it that way. I'm one of those people that, like, I love, going to coffee shops and just like people watching.
Oh my gosh, and overhearing all their random ass conversations.
That's always so
I
entertaining.
love it.
Yeah, it's funny because, like, I don't really have much of like I don't have, no, I'm sorry. Let me back up. I don't have any like nightlife kind of thing, but I write about it. So it's
Yeah.
all based on previous experience. Like, I am
Yeah.
in bed by 9. Don't kid yourself.
Well, I mean, that's kind of how I feel. Like, I don't know if it's just this like phase in my life. I'm just kind of like, I don't know. I don't really want to be out that late. Like,
I don't.
I thought my wall was midnight. It turns out it's more about 10 o'clock for being out and being social and having
Yeah.
to like pay attention. It's like 10. And I'm like,
Oh
when did
yeah.
that happen?
Listen,
I'm
if I
like,
have
I
to
don't
be
know. Should
out
like
of the
stay awake.
house, if I can't, like, if I don't have to leave the house until after 6, you can forget it. Like, if it's an event where I leave after 6, it is absolutely not happening. Like,
Especially in
my
the
bra is
winter.
already off. I already look like a sewer rat. It's not happening. I'm not, I'm not doing it. So I need everything to take place before like
Like
6
in the
p.m.
day. I feel like, especially in the winter, I'm like, but it's so cold. Can we just do stuff during the day and then we can all go home and like cuddle with our
Yes.
animals?
Yes, absolutely. Especially when it gets dark
uh,
at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Like, I
yeah.
don't want to, no, I am not motivated to go outside. No, absolutely not. There's nothing good out there.
I mean, you can just tell what time of year we're recording this. That's for
Yes. Oh,
sure.
it's so dreary and just blah. Yeah, I'm a homebody at this point in my life. I love it. I accept that very much about myself.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I've got all these crazy animals, that are always running around the house and keeping me busy. So
Yeah. With their little diapers and their little poopies and their little cute.
they're so stinking cute. Oh, I love them. They're so great. Ugh.
Well, oh my gosh, this has been such a pleasure. I'm glad that we got to like see each other again,
I
like on the
know.
Zooms and catch up, but just like talk about your books.
I am
And
very much team come back to Nashville.
yeah, I mean, people are like, why haven't you on my? Because I've just really been trying to get my shit together. And then I kind of had it together, and then 2020 came, and then I just started to like invest and invest and invest. And so like here we are.
Yeah.
I mean, Springfield's really easy and it's way cheaper than Nashville.
Oh,
So
I don't doubt that. Yeah.
yeah, like I mean, which I never really lived in Nashville proper anyway.
Yeah.
I actually didn't like where I was out in Lenox Village. I actually really loved that apartment. It had a lot of space for what it
Yeah.
was. And it was a great little area, very easy to get back and forth because I usually wasn't going with the rush traffic
Yes.
if I was going into town. But and then also kind of being in between there and Franklin was really nice. So
Franklin's nice.
actually, yeah, I really liked that little area. And I still keep in touch with people that I have another client that became an esthetician and she opened up a spa in Franklin and we still keep up. And
Oh,
there's another lash friend, colleague that moved from California to Nashville, and she does go out and like does all the drinks and stuff, and like they're very like craft drink people. So I get to
yeah.
like just say, I'm like, that looks cool. Oh, what a cool spot, like
Yeah.
vicariously live through her.
Exactly.
Yeah, and she does lashes there too. So there's a couple more people I still keep up with just in terms of watching them like in their success or life or business or whatever. So
That's
yeah,
so fun.
one day, because I really am like, where would I want to move? And that's just a whole nother conversation. But because I do appreciate not having winter, I appreciate thing about Arizona is the sun is addicting. The summers, no, thank you. The
Yeah,
fact that
absolutely
there's
not.
really no green, because I grew up with trees and I like
Yeah.
Tennessee has a really beautiful blend of, urban and woodsy areas,
Yeah.
and countryside. But yeah, I feel
Yes.
like I could easily be a snowbird and just like go somewhere warm for the winter.
There
So
you go.
that's the goal, just
That would be awesome.
get out of town for a few months. But well, please share with everyone where they can connect with you.
Yeah.
And I will have all of the links that you provided for
Awesome.
connecting and book buying and all of that in the show notes, of course. But you can go ahead and share like, where's the best place to buy a book from you?
So locally in Nashville, Parnassus books carries
Oh,
my they carry my stuff,
cool.
which I feel very excited about
Yeah.
because the legendary Ann Patchett owns that store.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. That's so cool.
um, so they do normally have some of my books in stock, and if they don't, they can always get them. And then Amazon, and then you can find me on like all the platforms. I'm just hey Melissa Grace, like, hey girl, hey
Hmm.
Melissa, what you doing? What
Hey,
you doing?
girl. Hey. I
So
love
yeah,
it.
I keep it
Yeah.
consistent.
Amazing. And actually I just thought of like maybe people would be curious like who are some authors that you love that maybe you would like to give a shout out to or that you just really enjoy?
um, so the author that was like the most impactful for me, her name is Lurleen McDaniel. She actually retired recently, but she wrote these amazing, like they were mostly young adult stories, but they all had like a very like they had a sad element to them, like maybe the character was dealing with like an illness or something like that, and she always like had such a great like hopeful, like she did everything through a hopeful lens, and that was something that like stuck with me, and it has very much impacted my writing today. She's just incredible, and I mean, goodness gracious, I couldn't even tell you how many books that she's published, tons. um but I mean, like, to me, she's one of the greats.
Cool.
um and let me think. Oh my goodness. I mean, I was definitely, I'll be honest, like in my early years, like I was very much influenced by like the like Nicholas Sparks types of stories.
Mm-hmm.
Um I, you know, I feel like I've kind of changed, I've grown a lot from that point. Like, not that those aren't still good. It's just he ain't writing no steamy stories. And to be honest, I don't want to read it if he does. So no offense, Nicholas. But I do have a fun Nicholas Sparks story, actually.
Yeah.
I met him back when Dear John came out, which was, oh my God, that was 15 years ago at least. And at that time I was in my, Nicholas Sparks fangirl era, and I was so excited to meet him. And my cousin and I went, and we were sitting, it was in Davis Kid, which is not, again, doesn't exist anymore. And you had to get there super early just to get in line. Cause I mean, like, this was a big deal. Like this was like post Notebook era, post A Walk to Remember. Everybody was so pumped about him.
Yeah.
And so we had just gone for like a walk, and I don't know what happened, but like my knee was all messed up. And so I was like, I can't stand up here. So I'm sitting in the floor. My legs are like splayed out, and I'm like, I don't give a shit, whatever. Walk around me. And so the next thing I know, he walks up and he's standing right in front of me. And he goes, are you comfortable? I was like, well, as a matter of fact, yes, sir, I am. and he just like starts laughing. And so he goes, he gets at his table, and then I'm just cracking jokes with the people in line and having fun. And by the time I get up to the table, he goes, well, I just have to know what your favorite book is. So I launch into my spiel of what I liked. And I said, and by the way, I hope that one day you're going to be reading my books. And he's like, well, I hope so too. And I'm like, look, I did it, Nicholas.
Okay, so like, not till Nicholas Sparks, like
how can I send
there's
those
3 out now.
That's right. You got to get caught up. You're behind. You're already behind. Yeah. So that was cool. That was fun. That was fun.
Oh my gosh. Well, listeners, these books would make a great gift to yourself if you love to laugh and cry and like just feel like you want some extra girlfriends in your life, in your brain, maybe even if they aren't in real life. You can be a part of their family via the stories. Yes. And they would make a great gift for your friends too. Like I've actually gifted one of the books, the first one before. So, and she really enjoyed it. So I just need to get her caught up now. But yeah, so go buy them. And go follow Melissa and connect with her and follow her. Her sense of humor is fantastic. And thank you so much for coming on and hanging out with me. Thank you so much.
So fun.
Thank you for tuning in to Crushing with Abio. If you enjoyed today's episode, please share it with a friend and leave a 5-star review. As always, you can connect with me on Instagram at Coach Abio or drop me an email at hello@crushingpodcast.com.